Right now, it is currently the month of June, meaning that it is officially Pride Month. Now, normally, as a Sonic fan, I would want to rave about the ships people go for when they discuss LGBTQ+ in the Sonic space, such as examples in the IDW comics like Tangle and Whisper and Night and Dawn. But since I primarily also talk about baseball on this channel, and post random types of videos too, I'm gonna talk about something a bit more well known, yet somewhat niche, in the space of the LGBTQ+ community and baseball. So recently, the Los Angeles Dodgers, in honor of Pride Night, unveiled a permanent monument in honor of both Glenn Burke and Billy Beane, two notable players who had played for the organization and came out as being gay just after their careers ended. And this kind of reminded me of something that mainly being the topic of today's video, which was how Billy Beane, who was one of the most notable gay players in MLB, also somewhat had a brief stint in NPB. But first, let's go to a bit of a recap of his career before we get to his short time in NPB. Born on May 11, 1964, in Santa Ana, California, Beane would attend Santa Ana High School, where he would graduate as a valedictorian and even ended up winning a state championship for their baseball team. He would then attend Loyola Marymount University with an athletic scholarship to play on the Lions baseball team. After 3 years in LMU, where he was also named an All-American in the outfield position twice, the New York Yankees would decide to draft him in the 24th round of the 1985 MLB draft, with the Yankees also offering him a $55,000 signing bonus to do so. However, Beane decided to play out his senior year with LMU, and they were sure glad he did, because Beane would help lead the Lions to the 1986 NCAA College World Series, where they would be knocked out in the second lower round by Oklahoma State University. For perspective, as of 2026, this still remains the only time LMU even qualified for the College World Series. After he graduated from LMU, the Detroit Tigers would select Beane in the 4th round of the 1986 MLB draft, where he would spend his first year with the AA Glens Falls Tigers, before he would make his Major League debut a year later on April 25, 1987, then make history that day by tying a Major League record by recording 4 hits in his Major League debut. Aside from that milestone of a game, his season wasn't really noteworthy, as he played 26 games, hit .258, .310, .288 with an OPS of .598 and 17 hits. And 4 of those hits just came in that one game alone. Beane would then spend most of 1988 with the AAA Toledo Mudhens, before he was traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers for Steve Green and Domingo Michael, who are both minor leaguers. A fun fact about this time was that Beane would be teammates in Toledo with the similarly named Billy Beane with an E, the one who would eventually help orchestrate the 2002 Moneyball Oakland Athletics. He would mainly play in the minor leagues in the early 90s, first for the Albuquerque Dukes, then in the Angels minor league system in the AAA Edmonton Trappers. Another fun thing about this was that Beane would play alongside former Cebu Lion Ty Van Berkeley and future NPB players Phil Bradley and Bobby Rose. Eventually, in 1992, Beane would go to the Kintetsu Buffaloes of NPB at a time when they were looking for players to help them give an edge over the Cebu Lions, who they were trailing for in the PL standings at that point. He would then start on June 10, 1992 against the Nippon Ham Fighters in a 0-1 loss, then record his first hit and RBI the next day in another loss to the Fighters, this time the final score being 1-3. He would only play 5 more games for the Buffaloes, where he would hit .208, .231, .292 with an OPS of .522 in 26 plate appearances, where he would only end up recording 5 hits. After that, Beane would then return to the US with the San Diego Padres, where he would end up playing 3 more years before he would officially retire from baseball. After he retired, Beane would appear in multiple TV shows, such as the revival of the show I've Got a Secret by the Game Show Network, Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List by Bravo, Made on MTV, Frasier on NBC, and Arliss on HBO. Many of the other things after retirement have much to do with this next section of this video, that being how he came out as gay. The story would start in 1993 when Beane and his then wife Anna Maria Amato, would visit her parents in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. Bean would then meet a guy named Sam Madani, an Iranian immigrant, in the showers of a gym in a health club in Maryland. Amato and Bean just happened to divorce just 1 week later, and then eventually, Bean and Madani would move to a gated community in Del Mar, California. Madani would then be given a private tour of the Padres locker room at Jack Murphy Stadium by Bean, where he would show him how an MLB player was and the ins and outs of the sport. Bean would then keep his and Madani's relationship a secret from all his Padres teammates. One story about this involved when Brad Osmus and Trevor Hoffman, both teammates to Bean at the time, dropping by his and Madani's house unexpectedly, leading to Bean having to hide Madani inside a car for 3 hours out of fear of them both being outed as a gay couple. Things would then take a turn on April 23, 1995, when Madani, who had been tested positive for HIV less than 2 months earlier, collapsed at home. Bean, who had played an exhibition game earlier that day against the Anaheim Angels, immediately rushed him to the closest hospital after he saw him collapsed on the floor. But there was still a problem. Bean had come to that hospital as a member of the Padres, so out of fear of being recognized as a Padres player and having his relationship as a gay person be outed to the media, he would drive 30 more minutes to another hospital in a different direction. Madani would eventually die the following day from cardiac arrest from complications from AIDS. This would eventually be part of the reason Bean would retire from baseball following the 1995 season. It wouldn't be until 1999 when he would publicly come out as gay, when he told Lydia Martin of the Miami Herald about this, although he had gradually been coming out as gay to his friends and family over the last few years before this. With this, he became the second player in MLB to come out as gay, following former Dodger Glenn Burke. Bean had also been close with the Burke family, more so after Glenn's death in 1995. Bean would also release a memoir of his career titled Going the Other Way: Lessons from a Life in and Out of Major League Baseball in 2003. Later on in 2007, Bean was hired as a consultant by Scout Productions for a planned series named The Beard that was planned to be shown on Showtime. The plot would involve a gay man who has to marry a woman in order to survive in the sports world. Showtime ultimately never went forward with the series, and it was eventually cancelled. Fitting for his career, Bean would be named the first ambassador for inclusion by Major League Baseball on July 15, 2014. Here, he would help and counsel a player named David Denson, who would become the first MLB player to come out as gay during their playing career. Later, he would then become MLB's Senior Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Bean would then pass away from complications related to acute myeloid leukemia on August 24, 2024, at his home in New York City at the age of 60. He also had been diagnosed with this disease since 2023. As I had mentioned earlier, 2 years later, in 2026, during the Dodgers Pride Night, they would unveil a permanent memorial in honor of both him and Glenn Burke, both Dodgers players who had came out as gay after their career. The families of both Bean and Burke would even meet for the first time during this unveiling. So why am I, a predominantly NPB and Sonic fan, talking about the history of how Bean became gay? Well, not only is it because of the fact that it is currently Pride Month, where we respect people of all different genders and for who they are, but because respect to all of them is the right thing to do, as always. This June, we celebrate anyone, regardless of who they are, and guys like Billy Bean and Glenn Burke are braver people than most of us for deciding to come out and be who they are, and that's the most important thing about Pride Month. And to finally end off this video, happy Pride Month to everyone. This month, we will celebrate everyone, no matter what gender or who they love.